Hi everyone, in this video we will be looking at the hidden gems within the Digitakt 2. So these are mainly hidden gems that speed up workflow, that allow more creativity and get the most out of your Digitakt 2 unit. So in the last video, which was video 7, we looked at the update version 1.10, and with that came a whole host of updates within Digitakt. So this is based on that update along with other hidden gems that I like to go and use. So the first one that I want to show you is the new comb filter. The comb filter is basically a metallic sounding pitch tuned resonant overtone filter. It has a minus and a plus filter. So the minus has a negative feedback loop, which creates like a hollow tube sound. And then the comb filter plus is a positive feedback loop, which produces more like string sort of like sounds. So with that in mind, we can create different stuff within our Digitakt and then resample them and so forth. For this example, I have just taken a loop, a bass loop, which is this. It's just a normal loop. So what I'm going to do is just go over to the filter page and I'm going to press function and machines. I'm then going to head down to comb, I'll go comb negative for now, comb minus. If I hit back and go onto the filter page, you will see that on this page we have our usual setup. We have our attack, decay, sustain, release, our envelope, and then these are the main three settings which alter the sound. So the frequency is what frequency, the resonant frequency of the comb filter. The feedback, this sets the gain of the feedback signal, and then the low pass filter is a cutoff frequency of the low pass filter. It implements on the feedback signal. So it's a low pass filter on the feedback signal. So with us having that selected, if I just click onto this, I want to set the key tracking to 100%. If we go back onto this page and I hold function and then select this, what this is going to do, it's going to lock it to a C note value. So when the comb filter is feeding back, it's going to feed back at a C note value. So whatever we play it at, or whatever we place it at, it's going to go to a C note value, but higher up in the frequency spectrum. So if I just set this to 48, I've got my feedback on, I've got my key track on 100%. So if I just press this, that's the sound. I will introduce the feedback. And then you'll hear that, but it's feeding back at a C note value. So if I just hold that and use function and then turn the macro, then you'll hear what it does. And then if I remove the low pass filter, you'll hear that we can create different sounds within whatever we want to create. So if I just change this machine over to the comb plus, so this is a positive feedback, you will hear that that is going to be more string like. So if I really put up the feedback, and let's say I didn't want that low end in there, if I go on to page 2 of the filter, we can then select this bass and width filter to be either pre the comb filter or post the comb filter. So let's say I wanted to remove that low end, I would select pre and then just bring the bass up to whatever value sounds alright. and then that way we can start to shape a new sound from what we've got. And then what I could do with that, if I'm happy with that sound, I could then play that on the keyboard. I could then add effects. So a nice way to use the comb filter on the Digitakt. The next thing is lock the scale to a note value. So if we have this same sound, all this has got is just got a low pass filter, and the envelope is opening up and then coming back down. If I go into my sequencer and I just put in just some random notes, like that for example, mute everything else. What I can then do is go into my keyboard setup by pressing function and the keyboard setup menu. I can then select whatever scale that I want. Let's just go with C Dorian for now. Exit that, and from that you will see that this now has the C Dorian scale on the actual keyboard fold. So if I wanted to keep in key with this, and I went back into my trigger menu, my grid recording menu, on this note, if I wanted to change the note value, this would still be in the chromatic sort of scale. It's outside of the actual scale itself. To change this, if I head into the settings, I go down to personalization or personalize. I then look for note param. Right now it's in chromatic mode, which is what we've seen, but if we change this over to scale, what it will now do, if I exit this mode, if I hold down this key, you will see that now this is in the scale that I have selected. So if I wanted to create a bass line from this, I could then do so within the scale that I've chosen. So these are all just random. Don't know how this is going to sound. And then that way it's nice and quick and easy to get ideas within that scale down within your actual grid recording mode. The next thing is sequence timings. So these are usually overlooked, but we can create polyrhythms within Digitakt 2 itself. So if I have this sound, for example, and I have my kick, so let's say the kick is in a time signature of 4/4. So to add a polyrhythm to this sequence, polyrhythm basically means you having two time signatures within the same session. That's how I look at it. So the kick is on the 4/4, which is just on every quarter note, but then this hat, for example, I want to create a polyrhythm from this. So to do that, if I enter the actual grid sequence itself and I put in some notes, let's say, I'm just going to change this down to 1 page. And then what you'll see that this is still in the 4/4 time signature. If I just but what we can do is if I press function and page, it then brings us onto this sequencer page setup. So depending on your setup, you might see per pattern or per track. So if you press function and yes, this takes you from the pattern, which is the full pattern that you're working on, or you can do it per track. So this means now that I've set this up, track A, I can independently alter its time signature. So we have two things. We have the length of the sequence. So I could bring this down to an odd number. That would be a polyrhythm. And as you see, once it gets through to 11, it'll restart. And now we're starting to add these polyrhythms to our actual set. So if I just go back onto this, we can also change the speed of this. So we have 7 speeds to choose from. So it goes from 1/8, 1/4, half, 3/4, 1, 3/2, and then 2. So 1/8 is, and you'll see the X next to it. What that means is the tempo that is coming into the unit, it will be 1/8 that tempo. That'll be 1/4, half, 3/4, 1, 3 seconds, and then times by 2. So that'll be double the tempo. But what's interesting is these two here, the 3 second and the 3/4. So the 3/4 means it's going to be 1/8 triplets, and then the 3 second is going to be 1/16 triplets. So if we just play it on this, so you'll notice that triplet feel to it now. If we played it on half, it will be playing at half the speed of the tempo. So all of a sudden we're just getting this different vibe. That's very on the beat. And then we can just start to experiment with different time signatures. So that's a good way to introduce polyrhythms into your project. The last thing I will just say on this is how often it resets itself. So the pattern change and the pattern reset. So if I had, let's say, a reset of 16 bars. So what this is going to do, it's going to go through the entire sequence, and then when it gets to 16, it's going to reset itself. I could then change this to any value I wanted. So if I wanted this to reset on 9, so it's just going to play through, and it's just going to get to 9, and it's going to reset itself. So ideally this wants to be bigger than the whole length, because you're not going to get the full length out of it. So if I just set this to 16, it would run through all the 16 steps, but at 11 it would go back to 1, and then it would add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then it would go to 5, and then it would reset itself. So if you just look at that. So a nice way, by using sequencing timings and understanding the sequence timings and bringing them into your sets, you can create these polyrhythms within your set itself, and you can do that per track. You don't have to do it globally. We just simply turn it on or off by pressing function and yes. Next, we're going to look at sidechaining, but this time instead of using the compressor, we're going to use an LFO. So this is really dependent on your timing and the waveform you choose. You can't use a trigger to trigger the LFO, which is unfortunate, but it just adds a bit of movement to your overall sound. So going back to track 9 on my actual unit itself, so this is what we've got. Just resetting every 16 steps. If we head over to the mod page, so on mod page 1, if we set this LFO up to a certain way, then we can get that sort of sidechain effect. So if we start up on 8, we just turn that all the way to the right, and then we want to set the BPM to 8. This is going to be on quarter notes. We can refer to the LFO timings on these, or what to set them to. So all the way to the right at 64 and at number 8, that's going to give us a value of 4. So that is going to be basically the 4/4 timing. So if we just set that and leave it as that, fade we don't need to touch. Destination, I'm going to set that to the amp volume, and then the mode I'm going to leave on free. The waveform, however, I'm going to select expo, and then on the depth, this can be to suit, but you want it to go in the negative number, because what is going to happen is it's going to trigger, or it's going to trigger every time, depending on the speed. It's going to go down and it's going to bring the volume back up again. So if I just play this normally, and then I'll bring this in, and you'll see that we've got a nice bit of a side chain going on there. So if I bring in the kick, you'll see that that side chain is just giving a bit of movement to the sound itself. We can do anything we want with this. We can change the waveforms, we can change the sound, the timing. So it's just a nice way to bring a bit of movement into your actual sound and your sound design itself. Next we have the up and down key mode. So this is handy if you like to play in stuff. If we go over to our keyboard setup, we're in this mode now. If we like to jump from octave to octave, you'll see that these two are now lit up. This means that I can jump up and down as I would be able to do on the Digitone, I think, and other Elektron devices. I think the default setup is just navigation. So to change this, if we go over to the setting page, we're in personalize, but I'll just come back out of that. So if you're in the setting page like this, you go down to personalize, and then you'll see this menu here. It will be up and down key mode. If we change that from nav, which I think it's the default, if we change that over to keyboard octave, what you will see now is that we can change the keyboard octave up and down rather than it being on nav. It'll navigate the menu. So I just find that easier because I can just click on this page to access the different page, but up and down, going up and down octave, it just makes it the workflow a bit easier and better. So just on a side note from this video, I've created a booklet which gives you a lot of information about the Digitakt II itself. It's based on the Digitakt II. So in this booklet, it gives you tape style effects, sound creation, compressor settings, send effects, and the essentials you need to get up and running with the Digitakt II. I am continuing to add to the booklet, so hopefully there's going to be a new update coming out for the booklet itself, just adding more pages and more information that you can get out of the Digitakt. One of them is the frequency to note values of the actual filters itself. So each value represents, so if we just go like this or we hold the encoder down, each value will be represented in hertz, and then that will give you the note value of that, along with other stuff like key combinations, shortcuts, and other things like that. I'm looking to do another book, but on the analog heat effects. If you do want to support me, then you can head over to the Patreon. You can either sign up for free, or you can either subscribe to the Patreon page if you wish. The website as well also holds sample packs that I've made myself from these machines, from other devices, and that's just a good way for me to just get my stuff out there for you if you wish to purchase or if you wish to support the channel. When you subscribe or you like a video or you comment on a video, it means a lot. It keeps me going. It wants me to make more of these videos. As long as they hold value to you and you're getting something out of them, then it's a win-win. But I just wanted to say, if you wanted to support the channel, support myself. But if you enjoy the videos that you're watching and they do hold some value to you, they are all free. But if you do want to support the channel, then them options are there for you to do so. So next up is global parameter locking. So I have this sound, which is just a hi-hat sound. I go into grid record mode, and this is just the sequence that I've laid out. What I want to do then is hold down one of the triggers and then press track. You'll notice that all the lights from track A are now lit up. What that means is I can alter any parameter on this track only. So let's say the filter. So what that's going to do is it's just going to alter the filter of that track. So if I just change something, you'll notice that it just alters the parameter within that track itself. We can also take that a step further. So on this sound, for example, this bass sound, if I just put this on, and then on the next page, if I held this on for 32 steps, let's say on this track itself, but on page 2, I wanted to transpose anything on this page or change a parameter within this page, all we have to do is hold a trigger and then page, and then what I can do on this side, let's say, I could then alter the pitch. Let's just do it by 7 semitones up. So this page has been altered, whereas this page hasn't. So if I just play this now, so you can get some key changes going on there. So if I went back to this and I just reset that, if I had this pattern and I wanted to do it the other way, so if I just did it, hold that and then that down, I could then transpose this 7 semitones up. So on one pattern I could have it play normally, but then on the next everything could be transposed up 7 semitones. So if I had this on one pattern and then on another pattern, when I change between them, this one could be 7 semitones higher and then the other one could be 7 semitones lower. Next is random locks. So if I have this sound, which I think it's just a stock sound from actual Digitone, what I want to do is go to the source page and press function and machine. If I head down to grid, so if I just select grid, we're now in grid mode. So you'll see these grids come up. If I altered the grid to, let's say, 16, so this has been equally divided into 16 sections, I want to go into the grid record mode, just put in a few notes, and I think that should do us. If I then want to add these random locks, all I do is press yes, and then I can either pick from linear locks or random locks. So if I click on random locks, what that's going to do is it's going to assign a random lock to each one of the triggers that I've put in on the grid record. You'll see them flashing. So if I just play this, if I didn't like that, I could then just press yes and then yes again, and it will randomize it again. I could then go further into that by holding one of these triggers down and then maybe bringing that down, bringing it up, bringing it down. Or I could go back into this and then use the actual scale to keep it in scale to what the scale that I've chosen is. So this is just all randomized. So each trigger that has been playing back, it is now being individually altered to shape the tune itself. And then you can do all sorts of things with this. Really good for doing stuff. So let's try it on this vocal.
I can make it smooth.
So if I just go to this, go to grid, and then I want to, I've already put in these parameter locks. I'll just switch it over to 16th.
Can make it just how I want it to be. Just
Don't quite like that, so I'm just gonna clear that, do that again, and then press yes and yes.
just how you want. Hey, you move. Can make just how I want it. Let just can make it be. Just can make it. I want it now.
And then we can really tighten it up by just bringing this in.
I want it. Let just can be. Just can make it. I want it. Let just can make it be. Just can make it. I want it. Let just can make it be. Just can make it. I want it. Let just can make it be. Just can make it. I want it. Let just can make it be. Just how.
So if something's just not fitting right with the actual beat of the track, this brings me into the next thing. On this track, we can then shift the sequence. So to shift the sequence, we enter the grid record mode and then we press function and then left and right. What this is going to do is it's just going to shift the whole sequence either left and right. So if I just play this to the kick, we could then match this up to what fits with our kick and our rhythm.
I want it. Let us can make be us can make I want it. Let us can make be us can make I want it. Let us can make be us can make I want it.
So that fits a bit better. So that is a good way to just quickly just get something to fit within your actual project itself. The next thing that I'd like to show you is randomization of the page. I've shown this in a previous video, but it's just useful if you're coming up, you're stuck in a rut sort of thing and you're wanting just to get something down quickly. We can select a page like this, for example, the effects page, for example, and then I could then, whilst holding the page down, I then can press yes. What this will do is it will randomize the parameters on that page itself. Useful if you're wanting to just come up with something. If you don't like that and you're wanting to get back to your original, all you do is press your page itself and then no, and then that takes you back to the what it was set at. You could do the same on the filter page. And then you can tweak it yourself. So that is the randomization feature within Digitakt. The last thing that I'd like to show you is Purge. So Purge is if we have a lot of files within our project and we wanted to clear some space for the project itself. What we can do is we can head over to the settings page, go to project, go down to manage project, and on the active project you will see a little icon next to the active project. If you click over right on that, you will see Purge All to unload unused samples and presets. So what that will do is it will just basically remove all the samples and presets that you're not using within that project. It then allows you to have more space within the actual Digitakt II in case you wanted to basically record some more stuff or get some other sounds from somewhere else. So that is the hidden gems within Digitakt II. There's just 10 of them now, 10 of the key ones, I think. So I hope this video has been useful to you. Again, the preset booklet is available via the website if you'd like to take a look at that. There is a free version just to see if you like what you like. There is a free version just to see if it is for you or not. Again, I'd like to grow this channel as much as I can, spend more time doing videos like this because I really enjoy doing it. I really enjoy working with the technology and bringing new stuff to the table, hopefully. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to comment, rate and subscribe. It helps me keep going. And yeah, I will see you in the next one.